Good morning and welcome to Today in the News here on Vanguard Live. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Let's get started first with the Vanguard newspaper. Major headline on Vanguard says excitement as Tinubu ends emergency rule in Rivers, restores Fubara, deputy lawmakers, says peace is returned, deputy governor returns, residents await governor Ibas. Wike hails Tinubu for saving Rivers. Pandev calls for sober reflection, roll out drums for celebration, INC urge residents. Tinubu must apologize for Rivers overreach, PDP says. Fubara's next move unclear. Rivers APC woos governor with top offers. Ibas aides protest unpaid allowances. Government house calm. Ibas aide says. Ibas date with history. Major story can be found on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Top banner says, we stand by our statement on Dapman Dangote Refinery says, NECO 2025, Kano tops national performance chart as Governor Yusuf's education reforms bear fruit. Four states worst hit by ozone layer radiation. Federal government pays out 330 billion naira cash transfers to poor Nigerians, Edun says. Major story can be found on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Lower banner, aviation, Nigeria to receive first dry lease after almost 20 years, Keyamo says. 60.26% of candidates score credit passes in English and math. ACF vote unopposed APC ticket for Tinubu. Anti-Trump protests to rock London over president's visit. Nigeria, UK, 16 trillion current trade value highest ever. Away from Vanguard, straight into the Punch newspaper. Major headline on Punch says, emergency rule, winners, losers as Tinubu reinstates Fubara. President justifies action as over 40 court cases pending, cautions government on good governance. Wike, Rivers will henceforth witness peace and progress. 6 months wasted. Rivers elders lament. Tobana says SSCE NECO probes mass cheating in 13 states. Federal government, state, local government shared 2.2 trillion naira August revenue, says FAAC. Lower banner, thousands protest in London over Trump UK visit. Federal government returns history to basic school curriculum. And lastly, 7 victims confirmed killed in Lagos building fire. Away from Punch newspaper, straight into the Nation newspaper. Major headline on the Nation says Fubara, Emewule, other lawmakers back in office. Tobana says 10 dead in Lagos Afriland Towers fire. Supreme Court strikes out Ajayi's case against Ayeda Tiwa. Adeleke rejects call to join Aregbesola in ADC. Look into the Guardian newspaper. Major headline on the Guardian says doubt, uncertainty in Rivers, power tussle as Fubara returns. Tobana says Dapman, Dangote Bika over diversion allegations, 1.5 trillion naira subsidy demands. Ondo poll, Supreme Court dismisses appeal against Ayeda Tiwa's victory. Federal government says 330 billion naira disbursed in cash transfers to poor households. Over 60% of candidates passed 2025 SSE with 5 credits above. And lastly, traders count losses as UBA FIRS mourns staff lost in Lagos fire. That's all we have on the front page of the newspapers this morning. Join us after the break for a quick analysis of some of our top stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News here on Vanguard Life. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Joining us in the studio for a quick analysis is Mr. Uludare Mayowa. He's a publisher, Global Financial Digest. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ladi. Thanks for having me today.
I look into a top story for today. President Tinubu lifted the emergency rule imposed in Rivers State following the arrest that occurred around the gubernatorial election. Fubara, the governor-elect from the People's Democratic Party (PDP), was reinstated as governor after the lifting. The emergency rule has been placed in state in order to curb violence and maintain law and order. In your view, how significant is the lifting of this emergency rule in Rivers State for political stability?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, it's a good development, restoration of democracy in Rivers State, which means that the governor, the elected governor, the elected legislator will now resume effect to govern the state in accordance with the constitution, the statutes that put them there. The state of emergency declared by the president that could declare by its anomalies, aberration, doesn't have any place in law. Many people believe that it was meant to serve a personal political purpose, both for the president and the godfather of Rivers politics, that's Yiso Wikedi, SCT minister. Notwithstanding that, well, I'm sure people of the state will be glad now to have their government back, the president they elected to rule the state. And I'm sure that will be relief for them, a starting of development again in the state. Because the last 6 months of sole administrator, which has no place in the constitution, I'm not sure anything would have happened in that state for that period. So it's a good news, a good tidings for the people of the state.
So when the president says the peace we have seen in Rivers State today is because of the emergency rule, do you agree with that statement?
The state of emergency was a contrived arrangement to hijack power to render the governors impotent, so to say, in quotes. Was there no peace in Rivers State? Yeah, the lack of peace in Rivers State before the emergency was contrived by the gladiators in the crisis in that state. We all know what led to that crisis, what led to that seemingly lack of peace in the state. For the fact that the former governor still want to rule the state and still want to instigate crisis. So the state of emergency declared by the president was not the quiet solution for that crisis in that state. We should have allowed democracy to take the full course in that state. Unfortunately, the state of emergency declared by the federal government and the president don't allow such for to witness the full testing of the power, the structure of democracy in the state. So I don't see any crisis. There was no killing, there was no riot. What we just see is the political demand between two gladiators. The godfather who installed the government in the state, who trying to control with his power. And we can see what happened. He belonged to the president's side. He's in the president camp now as a minister by the APC. And he used his influence to dethrone the governor, to whip him to order, so that he can do his will. That's what we witnessed. There's no crisis in that state.
Would you say legally or constitutionally we have learned our lesson as a people?
I'm not a legal person, so I could not say that legally we have learned our lesson until the Supreme Court rules on that case. That's part of the contrived measure adopted by the people who have upper hand to wipe the government into place. The case was filed in the Supreme Court, and that's require urgent attention by the Supreme Court. Up to today, the case has not been listed or mentioned. So we'll have had the Supreme Court rule on that state of emergency and the crisis in that state, so that we can fully test the structure of democracy that we are really operating in democracy. You can't see this thing happen in the same climb. You can't see President Donald Trump as smart as he is, as he is today. You can't see him declaring a state of emergency in any state. You can see the democracy. You can see the judiciary checkmating when you want to take some move and contradict the constitution in the state. You can see the governor standing up against the president, and nothing happened to them. So these are things we want to see in our own democracy. That the structure of democracy will be to stand whatever crisis that is contrived or that is taking place, so that we can fully believe that we are in democracy, not that just creating a dictator sitting in Abuja and suspending the elected governor institutions without resorting to the law.
So would you say there are any losers or winners?
As it is today, the governor Fubara is a loser. because he returned back to the state government house as a curtailed person, as like a dog who, who are talking his tail. No, because he has been rendered powerless. Don't forget the election was conducted to the local government in the state without his input, without the loyalists involved in the election. And don't forget that the state assembly they still belong to this faction of the SCT minister. And they still have the big stick to weed at the time he want to go out of order. So he's going to that position, a wicked person, a person that has no ball to act on his own free will. He has to take order from Abuja before he can take any decision now. That's the government that is turning back to the state. That's unfortunate.
And in this case, who are the winners?
The Wike and the president. The minister of FCT won hands down, because he can still go back there and now enforce his will on the states. He has all these people in the local government, for example, who are not loyal to the governor. He has his loyalists in the state assembly who are loyal to him, who can actually stand the law and call the governors to order. So the Wike won this battle. The president won this battle because now the APC in control of the control of the local governments in the state. And I'm not surprised if by tomorrow or next tomorrow or whatever day may be, the governor will declare allegiance to APC and become to APC.
So would you say there are any lessons from this saga that we as a nation, as Nigerians, need to learn?
Yeah, there are many lessons to be learned from this occurrence. First, that the president must learn not to interfere in, outside the constitution in any crisis in whatever state. Secondly, the political gladiator must put their house in order. Well, for example, there was claimed that Governor Fubara and ex-Governor Wike has an agreement as a godfather what thing to do. Then it's lesson for us that if you cannot go by the rule that governs godfather to godsons, then don't take up the job. And if you have the ball to fight through the battle, don't put your head to it. And that's for me, that's the lesson. And the other lesson we can take from this that the political party, the masses of the people don't have a say in the governance of this country. Because if you have a say in the governance, the people of the university will have probably expressed their will through the ballot during the local government election to show their discontentness with the action taken by the president. But we are seeing that the election came and gone, and see the oath were returned by the choice of the godfather were returned to power. So they are still far away from democracy. That's what we have learned from this one. That the people really have to stand up and fight for democracy if we really desire democracy in this country.
Away from that, into a second story for today. So the Nigerian federal government has disbursed a total of 330 billion naira in cash transfers to help poor Nigerians. The initiative, according to the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, and the Budget and National Planning Minister, Bubakar Bagudu, is part of the government's effort to cushion the impact of the ongoing economic challenges, particularly following the removal of fuel subsidies. The cash transfers aim to provide immediate financial relief to the most vulnerable citizens, with the hope of helping them to cope with the rising cost of living. The government's 330 billion cash transfer aims to alleviate the impact of fuel subsidy removal. How effective do you think cash transfers are as a short-term solution for helping Nigerians?
In Nigeria, we have not seen the impact really. That notwithstanding, cash transfer to people done all over the world, especially in the period of economic hardship, just to cushion effect and just to ensure that people are not left to drop out of the cycle in the way, and to alleviate poverty. Because if there's no food, so government do that once in a while. For example, in America, they have what they call food stamp, people go to the poor people go to collect foods, from stuff. They have their government pay for it, and they have other welfare position to take care of the poor among them. But unfortunately, we don't have the data here, because what drives those process in elsewhere is data. How do you determine those who are qualified for such funding? We are not able to settle that in this part of the world, and that's why it's very complicated here. And we don't. I mean, if you go around, you cannot say you have seen somebody who said they receive such money from government, because we don't have data. We don't have statistics that drive those process, whereby we can say, okay, in number of states, we have number of poor who are earning less than this, who cannot afford to feed themselves, and you can transfer those money for them. What are the process? And we are seeing what happened to such money in time past during the late Mahmoud Buhari administration. There was over something billion stolen through that process. We have heard that they were feeding process. We are seeing this crisis, the standard that engulfed such process. Same thing in the cash transfer process. Even in this present administration, the former Mr. Ajay Poverty allegation, Edun, was served from the office based on the corruptions and non-transparency of handling such transfer. Until we have data-driven process, I will suggest that government suspend such transfer, because we can't see the impact, we can't see the effect, and we can't identify those who are beneficiary of this transfer.
Like you said one of the key challenges we're currently facing is the lack of data, as well as making sure that money reaches the people it's supposed to reach. Do you believe that this particular government have put in place, all of that for an effective system in this cash transfer?
You know, I said in the initial stage of this presidency, there was a crisis, there was scandal involved in so-called cash transfer to the poor. And between that and now, they are supposed to carry investigation, and yet we are not seeing anything happen. They have not told us what happened to the former minister who was suspended as a result of that scandal. They don't inform the public what step government have taken to ensure that we don't go that route any longer. Until we have been told, yes, we have said no, NIN and the rest. This has not been perfected until we have a clarity on the process and verifiable process that anybody can verify and go out and find out, investigate and discover. Then we can say it's transparent. You see a source of siphoning money from the system. That's where we are seeing it, because we see politicians loading some of those documents with names of their advisor and girlfriend and all the rest. So until we have a clear, transparent process of transferring that money, then I would advise that the money was borrowed from was a grant from World Bank, $800 million from World Bank. We expect that World Bank will probably set up as well the process, but there's no way they can actually discover the anomalies in those data submitted to them. So until we have a clarity and transparent process, then we'll see that it's just an effort in fertility.
With the current rate of inflation, like we all know, do you believe the 25,000 naira cash transfers to each person, is sufficient to cushion the effect of rising costs and fuel subsidy, like the government claims?
25,000 naira is not enough or sufficient to take care, but it's a kind of a relief, a cushion for them. It's not meant to take care of their own needs, because they are not working for it. It was a gift of government. But it's sufficient added to cushion the impact. It's as if for a family of 5 or whatever spend 25,000 to buy food stuff. I think we take them for some days for them to go and also, as we call it in this part of the world, to augment that. It's an augment resources for the people who are concerned. So it's not meant to take care of their own needs, pay their school fees, pay their house rent. No, it's just meant to cushion the impact of the hardship. And this is why it's done. You are not meant to eating chicken and jollof rice from that resources. It's not meant to help you to ameliorate the impact. But you don't have that 25,000 naira, you still have to survive. Because that 25,000 will help you to ameliorate, to pushing impact. That was it's meant for.
So citizens are concerned that this social program could be used for political patronage. Do you see this as a legitimate concern?
They're very genuinely concerned in the sense that, of course, people, when you are doing such things, the politicians are in charge of it. And they will use it to further their own political nest in a way. So, for me, it's a legitimate concern. That's why we need to call for a complete overhaul of the process so that it can be transparent and the people who are in charge can be accountable. And that's the only way we can get the buy-in of the majority of Nigeria.
So aside cash transfers, do you think there are other, policies or social welfare programs that the government can do to actually help the poor?
Yeah, cash transfer is a shortcut measure to cooking the impact of economic crisis in people. The other measure to alleviate alleviate poverty, and they have been tested in other climes. Government must drive development, drive infrastructures, drive job creation process. Encourage small scale industry to thrive, encourage the agricultural sector to thrive, and create farm settlement where people can go and work and earn their own money, so they can be able to live comfortably according to their mayor. So there are so many measures, and drive down inflation in the country, drive down the cost of living through physical and monetary policies. These are measures that government can do to really reduce poverty in the country. As far as we are not doing such things, as far as government inflation is still very high and job is scarce because we are not creating job, we're not creating incentive or providing conducive environment for people who are decent to thrive, to survive, then we continue to have more poor people who slip into the poverty line. So government need to wake up and do more. That's why they were elected, really.
Thank you very much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you for having me today.
That was Mr. Oludare Mayowa, publisher, Global Financial Digest. Thank you for staying with us. Remember, you can follow us on all our social media platforms as seen on your screen. For up-to-date stories on our website at www.vanguardngr.com.